Hey, how's it going? I want to tell you the prices of some foods in 1970 versus their price in 2020, so you can see, how much certain things went up, and not everything, went up dramatically. So, first thing we'll mention is potatoes. In 1970, they were about 9 cents a pound, and in 2020 they were about 78 cents a pound. Okay, this adjusts for inflation. Um, in 1970, chuck roast, okay, inflation adjusted was about 4.89 a pound, and in 2020 it was 5.64. So adjusted for inflation, didn't go up that much. American cheese, uh, adjusted for inflation, 1970 was 3.40 a pound. 2020 it was 3.90 a pound. So that didn't go up that much either. Um, huh. This is interesting. Sugar, adjusted for inflation, in 1970 was 88 cents a pound. In 2020 it was 58 cents a pound. It actually went down. Wow. Okay. Bread, 1970, adjusted, inflation adjusted was $1.63 a pound. It also went down to 2020 to $1.36 a pound. Um, so, uh, 1970 ground beef, adjusted for inflation, was 4.49 a pound. 2020 it was 4.30 a pound. So you have to really adjust these things, for inflation because, for example, this ground beef in 1970 was 66 cents a pound, not adjusted for inflation, but you really need to adjust for inflation. Okay, um, chicken breast. 1970 adjusted for inflation was 5.03 a pound. Not adjusted for inflation was 74 cents a pound. In 2020, it was 3.11 a pound. Tomatoes, now not adjusted for inflation, they were 42 cents a pound in 1970. Adjusted for inflation was 2.86. In 2020, it was $1.95 a pound. So you could really see that when you adjust things for inflation, the prices really go up. Steak, 1970, it was $1.30 a pound. And then if you adjust for inflation, it was 8.84 a pound, and in 2020 it was 5.97 a pound. Bananas, 1970, they were 15 cents a pound. If you adjusted them for inflation, it was $1.02 a pound. 2020 is 57 cents a pound. So okay, eggs, a dozen eggs in 1970 were 61 cents. If you adjust that for inflation, it's 4.15 a dozen. 2020, it's $1.53. So, bacon, 1970, 94 cents a pound. If you adjust that for inflation, it was 6.39 a pound. 2020, it's 5.47 a pound. Coffee, 1970, it was 91 cents a pound. If you adjust that for inflation, it was 6.19 a pound. 2020 was 4.05 a pound. So you really need to adjust for inflation. To rice, 1970 it was 19 cents a pound. If you adjusted that for inflation, it was $1.90, $1.29 a pound. 1970, 2020 it's 71 cents a pound. So you can see that most things, if you adjust it for inflation, have actually gone down. Milk, 1970 it was 57 cents a half gallon. Adjusted for inflation, it was 3.88 a half gallon. 2020 it was $1.59 a half gallon. So it's another one that went down. In pork chops, in 1970 it was $1.16 a pound. If you adjust that for inflation, it was 7.89 a pound. In 2020, it was just 3.77 a pound. And last on the list is ice cream. In 1970, 84 cents per half gallon. Adjusted for inflation, 5.71 half gallon. 2020, 4.74 a half gallon. So those are so you could see the impact of time and inflation, over a 50-year period. So